Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. There are reports that Exxon Mobil is planning to sell its onshore and offshore assets in Nigeria to the tune of $3 billion, 3 years after its exit from the downstream sector. While Exxon Mobil has said it is still committed to the company's long-term business operations in Nigeria, the question still remains, what could it mean for Nigeria if the American oil giant divests? Joining us now to speak on this is Dr. Diran Fawibe, an astute petroleum economist and the CEO of International Energy Services Limited. His work experience spans across several organizations and institutions, including the Central Bank of Nigeria and the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation. At the NNPC, Dr. Fawibe was General Marketing Manager, responsible for marketing Nigerian crude oils in the world market, representing Nigeria at OPEC expert meetings, working parties, and steering committees. He is actively involved in promoting cooperation and understanding between the public and private sectors, banking and finance industry, as well as the industrial sector through seminars, workshops, and conferences.
Dr. Fawibe, you are welcome to the morning show.
Thank you very much.
Good to have you here.
Thank you.
Well, you just had Tundon. We had this report about Exxon Mobil planning to divest some of its oil mining licenses, leases, 68, 70, 104, 67. Before now, we had Shell also divesting from Nigeria. What do you think is responsible for this? Although we're told again that Exxon Mobil says he's not quite planning to go in that direction. What really is the issue? Is it the failure of the joint venture cooperation, or is it the taxation issue, or is it community issues? What exactly is the main problem here with the IOCs?
Okay, let's look at it in terms of the information put out. There could be a question of clarification or some information that has not been properly put across to the public in terms of whether it was divestment or whether it was farming out or whether Exxon Mobil wants to attract invite some companies to participate with them in the development of some of their undeveloped fields. What I know as an industry operator is that Exxon Mobil once has some undeveloped fields which they want to develop, probably using some indigenous companies or some investors to participate in this in the development. We may now decide call it divestment. The hysteria that is associated with this announcement, to me, doesn't seem to be totally justified. Now, how do they get to know that about $3 billion will be involved, in this exercise? Now, you could talk about the volume of crude oil in the various fields to be developed. But when you even look at it, really, it represents a small fraction of the investment of Exxon Mobil in Nigeria. And if we are now talking about Exxon Mobil divesting, we should also look at what could be the strategy of Exxon Mobil, just as any other company. You know that some companies may want to realign their operations, their investment, with a view to optimizing, their resources. For example, I know as an industry operator that Exxon Mobil has a lot of deep water assets which they want to develop, running into several billions of dollars. So when we are talking about onshore or shallow water assets, running to about $3 billion, if that figure is assumed to be correct, it represents a small fraction of their investment in Nigeria. But let me put it this way. What I know is happening as an industry operator is that Exxon Mobil wants to develop some undeveloped fields, which they want to bring in some investors to participate in the development of these fields. And I would say that it's a strategic development on the part of Exxon Mobil. Instead of leaving all these fields that have, where you have discovered oil in the past undeveloped, it stands to reason that if you now say, okay, let me bring in some people because of the small this nature, the small size of those fees, they could participate. While we concentrate on the big fees, I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, but if that is a plan, and there's been a lot of talk about developing local content, encouraging local players in the oil and gas sector, these local players, you know, do they really have the muscle? Do they have the capacity? Do they necessarily have access, from what you have seen, to the capital or the technological resources that will be required?
Well, we should not underestimate, you know, the capacity of local companies, you know, in terms of development. When you look at companies like Seplat,
Aitio,
Oando, and so on, you may not have the financial resources within the country, but they leverage on their experience to get out of this country. And when you look at some of the things that happened in recent times, the exposure of Nigerian banks, you know, to the oil and gas industry, we may not be looking at Nigerian, you know, banks, you know, to support very much, you know, this initiative. But that is where the situation about Nigeria becomes very important. I know that many of these prospective investors will go out of the country to look for funds, and the attraction of Nigeria, you know, in terms of stability, in terms of economic prosperity or outlook for Nigerian economy, will actually affect the ability of these companies to be able to get financial resources, you know, to develop the fees. I don't think that is much of a problem.
But the Nigerian banks would have to lead a lot of these acquisitions, and they're still heavily exposed from their transactions with Shell and Chevron in 2010 and 2015. So would the banks actually have an appetite to fund more of these expeditions?
Well, that's exactly what I said. You know, I know there are quite a number of banks today that are shying away from oil and gas business or investment, likely because some of them still have enormous bad debts, you know, either for the downstream, that is those who are giving money, you know, for importation of petroleum products, you know, and then got entangled, you know, the subsidies scam and so on. But for the upstream, there are quite a number of banks that assisted some Nigerian companies, you know, in the acquisition, you know, of some oil and gas assets that currently are finding it difficult, you know, to actually perform. And it's creating a bit of problem for some of the banks. So when you look at this, you may say that, you know, maybe this kind of initiative will suffer when we talk about Nigerian banks. But some of the companies that are doing very well, take Oando, for example, take Seplat, for example, or even Aitio, you know, they don't depend on Nigerian banks for most of the investment they are having there. They use overseas financial institutions. As you know, I think it was Oando that had dual listing, you know, on foreign stock exchange, and the same thing with Seplat. So as long as these opportunities are out there, some of the companies that may want to go into this kind of investment will leverage on these opportunities, you know, existing out there, you know, to bring in investment, to develop these fields. The key thing, which I said before, is that the perception of the international investors, you know, about how safe would be their investment in Nigeria. What is the level, what is the type of legislation that governs, you know, when you want to invest in a country like Nigeria, and particularly political stability. And happily, you know, the election is over, and then we expect that there will be some political stability. And when you look at the oil and gas industry, over the past 3 years or so, there's been some calmness, you know, some stability in the oil and gas industry. So one was expecting that if the politicians will only get their acts together and don't cause problem for the economy, if they are thinking about the economy, not about the politics of the country alone, then they should be able to create an enabling environment that will enable large-scale investment to come into the country.
Indeed, you talked about legislation. So let's look at this. To what extent has the delay and the lack of political will to pass the PIB, especially the fiscal aspect, as well as the rising shale oil production in the U.S., impacted on the investment of multinationals here in Nigeria?
There is no gainsaying about the adverse effect of the what some people call infamous PIB. The PIB that it hasn't been passed into law to me, is a tragedy for this country. It has created so much uncertainty whereby investors wanting to come to Nigeria, particularly in the upstream, will now say that, what is the need for us? Even the IOCs that are operating in the country, we can easily, if we are measuring, the effect of the non-passage of the bill in their investment strategy, we could see that, it does not promote, it does not encourage them. And when you are in a state of uncertainty for many years, there is no doubt that, it will send jitters, to the spine of anybody that wants to invest. So, and this has been said times without number by so many people in this country, even by the legislators, even by the executive minister, that the non-passage of that bill is unfavorable to investment in the Nigerian oil and gas industry. And when we have thought that, that kind of expressions and opinions will sway the authorities to pass the bill into law. But yes, we are still there. And it is only hoped, if I don't think much can happen between now and next month when the President, the 8th National Assembly will wind up. Maybe the 9th National Assembly will be able to do so. And also the Petroleum Industry Governance Bill, which has been passed, waiting for the assent of the President. One is hopeful that the President will be able to get the relevant people to do the necessary adjustment that prevents him from giving a presidential assent, to do so, so that at least this aspect of the bill is passed into law finally. Then the remaining three, particularly the fiscal, bill of the PIB, is particularly very important, because now if the investors don't know the fiscal regime that is going to govern their investment, of course, nobody would be willing to do so. And even the oil companies, the IOCs in the country, to make further investment, because don't forget that some of them have been in this country for about 60 years, and they know how to optimize their investment and their operations. So if we are able, you can even start from them. There are quite a lot of opportunities out there, in deep water. I know as an industry operator that there are quite some giant fields that are ready for development, either by Exxon Mobil, either by Shell, or either by Total, and so on. And if there is uncertainty about the fiscal regime that is going to govern all these assets, of course, there will be a discouragement. And in that case, they are global company. We go out to other countries where they have clarity, they have certainty about what is in it for them, if they put in their investment, and so on. Even there is still some clamoring about the new bill, how it affects some of the existing operation, whether you want to backdate or you want to make retroactive some of the provisions that will affect the existing operation. So these are some of the issues that we need to clarify. Finally, the Niger Delta, that's the oil-producing communities, that will be seriously impacted with what is happening in the oil and gas industry, need to be assured what is in it for them. Part of the problem we are having in the oil and gas industry is the attitude and the effect of the operation of the industry on Niger Delta. The host community fund, which is one of the things embedded in the PIB, need to be sorted out, need to be clarified, so that there will be peace, in Niger Delta. I've always said this: if Nigeria economy is going to be stable in the next few years, there must be peace in the Niger Delta.
Well, Doctor, two quick follow-up questions. She asked you about shale oil. And then, you know, there's this crisis between OPEC and the United States over shale oil and all that. What do you think will be the implications for global dynamics? That's one. Two, you just talked about deep water operations. Many of the IOCs are moving into deep water operations. What is the implication for the oil-producing communities in the light of the existing framework that they can only make claims not beyond 200 miles isobar?
Well, you see, let's first of all talk about the effect of shale oil. You know, shale oil is one thing. There are so many issues revolving around the position of every country in the world. Shale oil, the countries that are newly developing their oil and gas assets, is another issue. But shale oil will continue to dominate the petroleum scene for years to come, and we cannot stop them. Nobody can stop them. America wants to have energy independence, and they have found an avenue to achieve this through shale gas or through shale oil. So they will continue this because this is an objective of the American government. What they have been clamoring for since 1974, the first energy crisis, when the American government said that the energy independence is an equivalent of moral equivalent of war. Now, there are some other countries that today may not be fracking gas, and they will develop this. So, and this will compete with OPEC oil. And that is my own feeling about this is that you make hay while the sun shines. The oil resources you have now, you have to use the revenue for sustainable economic growth in your country, so that if for any reason there is the shale oil displaces your oil, at least your economy has reached a level to the point that you can go on developing your economy. And don't forget, there are some countries that don't have oil, and yet they develop. Now, when you look at shale oil or shale gas, and look at what other countries that are hitherto not producing oil and what they are doing, you then discover that we have so much competition that can displace our oil. And now coming to the issue of the oil-producing communities. You see, there was some years ago we talked about onshore, offshore dichotomy. Now, what my own philosophy of life, which we as a nation should bring to bear, is dialogue. The oil-producing communities, first of all, this may sound unpalatable. What they are currently getting must be utilized before clamoring for more. My late old friend and elder friend, Chief Dafinone, talked to me one day. He said, "Doctor, don't mind these people who are clamoring for more money. The one you gave them through the 13% derivation, what are they use it for? It may not be. It may not sound palatable to people of Niger Delta, who for good reasons they have every cause to ask for more money, But the good thing is that if we are able to use whatever is going to them now and use it to develop that region, there will be less crisis in Niger Delta, and there will be more peace, which will reverberate throughout the whole country and the economy. Then we can then sit down and look at the legislation that governs, the sharing of the cake. That is, to what extent that can you say that, what is accrued to federal government should be further, divided, or some of it taken to the states? And I think it's a question of dialogue that can resolve this, not by use of brutal force.
Dr. Fawibe, as we're running out of time, I want to quickly ask you about cash call arrears. This administration inherited $6.8 billion in cash call arrears and negotiated it down to $5.1 billion. How effective has repayments been, seeing as some claim that that is what caused a reduction in foreign investments in the Nigerian oil and gas sector?
Now, you see, the lack of payment of, not paying cash call, we remember the period where the oil companies were not making any investments. They are not optimizing the development of their oil and gas assets because they said government was owing them. But because this issue has been resolved, you don't have any who's and cry about cash call arrears. And I think it's a plus for this government that they have been able to resolve this matter once and for all. And I think if we are able to maintain that condition, over the next few years, we will see increased activity. Now that the international industry and the world economy has picked up, then you see it, the operation in the oil and gas industry gearing up. If after the election, I think government will be able to concentrate, on what matters most for the various sectors of the economy, particularly oil and gas industry, and you can see increased activities, which will impact positively on the economy, but not only in terms of revenue for government, but Nigerian companies and so on be able to participate effectively in the operation of the industry, which was not the case when we were having cash call arrears, as a problem.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Fawibe.
Thank you.
And just a quick comment on where we started from with Exxon Mobil. Let's just hope that it is not a case of Exxon Mobil testing the waters or flying the kite, as it were.
No, if I may say this very quickly, we had divestment from Shell, some few years ago, but it did not reduce their appetite for investing in Nigeria, because currently, I don't know whether you are aware of this Bunga, Southwest, in deep water, which they are they are gearing up to develop, which will be over $10 billion of investment. And then they are also participating in some other projects, with heavy financial outlay. So, yes, you can re-strategize, giving up some of these assets, to some indigenous company to do. And I don't think Nigeria economy will lose anything by it.
Well, thank you, sir.
Welcome.
Adiswa, Tundu, I think we should let Dr. Fawibe go.
Yes,
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
It's time now for a short break. When we come back, it will be all about the latest treatment for autism spectrum disorder with Dr. Nesochi Okeke Ibokwe. Stay with us.